The autumn leaves crunched under my shoes as I pushed the stroller through Central Park, my 5-year-old son Finn chattering beside me about everything and nothing. His hand gripped mine tightly, warm and small and perfect, and despite the exhaustion weighing down my bones, I couldn't help but smile at his enthusiasm. "Mother, look! Ducks!" He pointed excitedly toward the pond, nearly pulling me off balance in his excitement. "I see them, sweetheart," I said, adjusting my grip on the stroller handles. The afternoon sun was warm despite the October chill, and the park was relatively quiet for a Tuesday. "Can we feed them? Please. I'll be so careful, I promise." I reached into my worn messenger bag for the bread I'd brought generic store brand because name brands weren't in our budget anymore. Not that Finn noticed or cared. He just grabbed the slices with both hands and ran toward the water's edge, his second-hand sneakers kicking up leaves. "My name is Jasper Rains, and I'm 27 years old. 5 years ago, I gave birth to the most beautiful child I'd ever seen after 18 hours of labor that nearly killed us both. And 2 weeks after that, the alpha who'd gotten me pregnant disappeared without a trace, leaving me with a newborn, mounting medical bills, and the kind of exhaustion that seeps into your bones and never quite leaves. Being a single Omega father wasn't what I'd planned for my life. Male Omegas who carried children were rare enough that strangers still did double takes when I mentioned Finn was mine by birth. But watching Finn throw bread to the ducks, his whole face lit up with pure joy, I couldn't regret him. Not for a second. I just wished I wasn't so tired all the time. Wished I could give him more than a tiny apartment in Queens where the heat barely worked in winter. Wished I didn't have to work 2 jobs just to keep us fed and housed. Wished the other mothers at his preschool didn't look at me with that mixture of pity and judgment when I showed up in my coffee shop uniform because I didn't have time to change. Mother, come see. This duck is really fat." I walked closer, abandoning the stroller to crouch beside him. "Be careful, baby. Don't get too close to the edge." "I'm being careful." He looked up at me with those bright green eyes, the only thing he'd inherited from his absent father. Everything else was mine. My dark hair, my small build, my stubborn chin. "See? I'm staying on the grass like you taught me." "Good boy," I said, ruffling his hair. It needed cutting, but that wasn't in the budget this week either. I settled onto a nearby bench, giving myself a moment to just breathe and exist. The park was one of the few places I could bring Finn that didn't cost money. We came every Tuesday afternoon after I picked him up from preschool, before my evening shift cleaning office buildings started at 7. These 2 hours were ours. No work, no bills, no stress. Just me and my son and the ducks. "Excuse me." I looked up to find 3 men standing near my bench, and my breath caught. They were stunning in a way that made my Omega instincts sit up and take notice. Tall, impeccably dressed, despite the casual park setting, moving with the kind of synchronized grace that spoke of years spent in each other's space. Triplets, I realized. Identical in build and features, but with subtle differences. One had platinum blonde hair and ice blue eyes that seemed to catalog everything they saw. Another had dark hair and warm brown eyes that crinkled at the corners. The third had auburn hair and hazel eyes that sparkled with barely suppressed amusement. And all 3 of them were alphas. Powerful ones, if the way my instincts were screaming was any indication. "Yes?" I said warily, my hand instinctively moving toward Finn, even though he was several feet away, still absorbed in his duck-feeding mission. "Is that your son?" the blonde one asked. His voice was cultured, controlled, with an accent I couldn't quite place. European, maybe. My protective instincts flared immediately. "Why?" "He just gave us very specific instructions," the dark-haired one said, his voice rougher, like whiskey over gravel. "We're trying to figure out if we should follow them." Before I could ask what he meant, Finn came running over, bread forgotten, his face lit up with pure delight. Mother, I found them." He skidded to a stop in front of the 3 men, looking up at them like they'd descended from heaven itself. I asked the universe for helpers, and here they are. Oh, no. Oh, no. "Finn, sweetheart, you can't just talk to strangers." "But they're not strangers," Finn interrupted with the absolute certainty only a 5-year-old could possess. "They're your new husbands." The world stopped spinning. My face went hot, then cold, then hot again. Sorry. What? I stammered, wanting the ground to open up and swallow me whole. Your new husbands, Finn repeated, gesturing to the three men like he was presenting a grand prize. I asked them to marry you and they said they'd think about it. I was going to die. Right here in Central Park. I was going to die of mortification. Finn, you can't just, these men are busy, they don't want to. I looked up at them, my face surely the color of a tomato. I am so sorry. He's 5. He doesn't understand how the world works. Please just ignore him, we'll get out of your way. He understands perfectly, the auburn-haired one said, his voice warm and rich. He explained very clearly that his mother works too hard, is always tired, and deserves someone to help take care of him, which is very astute for someone so young. He also said you're the most beautiful person in the whole world, the blonde one added, those ice-blue eyes fixed on me with an intensity that made my breath catch, and that you make the best pancakes, though he was very concerned we might not like pancakes, so he asked if we preferred waffles. Despite my mortification, I couldn't help but laugh. Of course, Finn had interrogated them about breakfast preferences. I'm serious about this, Mother, Finn said, tugging on my sleeve. You're always sad. You try to hide it, but I can tell, and they have sad eyes too, even when they smile. You could all be happy together. The heartbreaking wisdom in his voice made my eyes burn. When had my 5-year-old become so perceptive? When had he started carrying the weight of my unhappiness? Sweetheart, these men don't want to marry a stranger just because you ask them to. Actually, the blonde one said, extending his hand. We'd very much like to have a conversation about that possibility. I'm Stellan. These are my brothers, Matthias and Reese. I shook his hand automatically, too shocked to do anything else. His palm was warm, calloused despite the expensive suit, and the contact sent a jolt of awareness through me that I tried desperately to ignore. Jasper, I managed. And this is Finn, who apparently needs a serious lesson in appropriate social behavior. I disagree, Reese said, the auburn-haired one. He crouched down to Finn's level with fluid grace. I think Finn has excellent instincts. Tell me, young man, what made you think we'd be good husbands for your mother? Finn considered this with the seriousness of a judge. You were watching him, he said simply. Before I came over, you were sitting on that bench over there, and you kept looking at Mother. Not in a mean way, in a nice way, like you thought he was pretty. All 3 brothers exchanged glances, something unspoken passing between them. You're very observant, Matthias said, the dark-haired one. How long were we watching? 3 Tuesdays, Finn replied. You always sit on that bench during duck time. You talk about serious things, I can tell, because you use your serious faces. But when Mother laughs at something I say, you all stop talking and look, like you want to laugh too. My breath caught. They'd been watching us? For weeks? We come to this park for meetings, Stellan explained, his eyes still on me. Neutral territory for sensitive business discussions. But you're right, Finn. We kept getting distracted by you and your mother. The way you play together. The way he makes you laugh, even though he's clearly exhausted. We wanted to approach you, but we didn't want to presume or make you uncomfortable. Until our son gave you permission, I said faintly, my mind reeling. Until your son made the introduction, we were too cowardly to make ourselves, Stellan corrected. This was insane. 3 wealthy, powerful alphas because they were clearly wealthy. Just look at those suits were standing in front of me claiming they'd been too nervous to approach me. Me, a broke Omega in thrift store clothes with a kid in tow. I really need to get Finn home, I said, standing abruptly. Thank you for being kind to him, but I'm sure you're very busy. Have dinner with us, Stellan interrupted. Just dinner. Let us prove we're serious about this. About what? Marrying a broke Omega with a kid because a 5-year-old asked you to? About proving that your son was right? Matthias said gently. That we're all lonely. That we could help each other. That sometimes children see things adults are too scared to acknowledge. I should have said no. Should have grabbed Finn and run from these 3 intense, dangerous men who were looking at me like I was something precious. But Finn was tugging on my sleeve, his eyes hopeful in a way that broke my heart. Please, Mother? They seem really nice. And they smell good. The last part made me flush. He could smell them, which meant they were compatible alphas, at least on a biological level. My suppressants were prescription strength, should have been masking my scent completely. If Finn could detect their alpha pheromones, it meant the compatibility was strong enough to break through pharmaceutical barriers. One dinner, I heard myself say, immediately questioning my sanity. But Finn comes with me. Non-negotiable. We wouldn't have it any other way, Reese said, his smile transforming his face into something warm and genuine. Friday night? We'll pick you up at 6. I gave them my address before I could second-guess myself, and they left with promises to see us soon. As I walked Finn home, he chattered excitedly about his new daddies, and I tried not to think about how badly this could go wrong, or how desperately I wanted it to go right. The next 3 days were a blur of second-guessing and panic. You're really going on a date with 3 strange alphas? My friend Mira asked when I called her Wednesday night. She was one of the few people from my old life who'd stuck around after Finn was born. Jasper, that's either the bravest or stupidest thing you've ever done. I know, I said, pacing my tiny living room while Finn slept in our shared bedroom. But they seemed genuine, and Finn was so excited, I couldn't say no. What if they're serial killers? Then, they're very well-dressed serial killers who are weirdly good with children, I replied. Finn interrogated them for 10 minutes about their favorite colors and whether they liked dinosaurs. They answered every question seriously. Okay, that's actually kind of sweet, Mira admitted. But you're texting me every hour during this dinner, and I'm tracking your location. Deal. Friday arrived faster than I wanted. I'd agonized over what to wear, finally settling on my least-worn thrift store, find a deep blue button-down that Finn insisted made my eyes sparkly and my only pair of jeans without holes. Finn, on the other hand, had planned his outfit days in advance. His favorite dinosaur shirt, the one with the T-Rex that was only slightly faded from washing, his good jeans, the ones without grass stains, and the sneakers we'd splurged on last month that still looked new. Do I look good, Mother? He asked, standing in front of our cracked bathroom mirror. You look perfect, baby, I said, smoothing down his perpetually messy hair. But remember, this is just dinner. We're getting to know them. This might not go anywhere. It will, Finn said with absolute 5-year-old certainty. They're perfect for us. You'll see. At exactly 6 p.m., there was a knock on our apartment door. I took a deep breath, checked my reflection one last time, tired, stressed, but at least clean, and opened it. All 3 of them stood there, dressed more casually than at the park, but still expensive. Stellan held a bouquet of white roses and blue hydrangeas. Matthias had a toy truck in his hands, a construction vehicle that I knew cost at least $50 based on the brand. Reese carried what looked like a very nice bottle of wine. Hi. Finn launched himself at Matthias without hesitation, and I watched this huge alpha catch my son with easy strength and genuine delight. Hello, Finn, Matthias said, his gruff voice going soft. I brought you something. Do you like construction vehicles? I love them. Finn grabbed the truck with reverent hands. This is the digger with the real moving parts. I saw it at the toy store, but Mother said it was too expensive. I flushed, embarrassed by the reminder of our financial situation. Well, now you have one, Matthias said simply, no judgment in his voice. You'll have to show me all the things it can do. These are for you, Stellan said, handing me the flowers. They were beautiful, elegant, the kind of arrangement I'd only seen in magazine spreads. Thank you, I managed, bringing them to my nose. They smelled incredible. They're lovely. Not as lovely as you, he said, and the sincerity in his voice made my cheeks heat. Can I show them my room? Finn asked, already pulling Matthias toward our tiny hallway. We're supposed to go to dinner, I started. We have a few minutes, Reese said gently, handing me the wine. Let him show us. We want to see his space. So I watched, bemused and increasingly flustered, as 3 wealthy alphas crowded into my son's tiny bedroom, exclaiming over his drawings on the walls and his collection of toy cars arranged by color and his bookshelf that I'd painted myself when I couldn't afford to buy a new one. You did this, Stellan asked, running his hand over the painted mural I'd done on Finn's wall, a simple forest scene with animals hiding in the trees. It wasn't professional quality, but Finn loved it. I'm not very good, but Finn wanted something special. It's beautiful, Stellan interrupted, his ice blue eyes intense. You have real talent. Mother's good at everything, Finn announced proudly. He can paint and cook and fix things and sing songs and tell the best stories and, okay, baby, they get the idea, I said, laughing despite my embarrassment. But the way all three of them were looking at me suggested they very much wanted to hear more. Dinner was at Le Bernardin, and I almost turned around and left the moment I saw the entrance. This was the kind of restaurant where business deals worth millions were made, where celebrities dined in private rooms, where people like me absolutely did not belong. Jasper, Reese said gently, his hand at my back. You look like you're about to bolt. I don't belong here, I whispered. I can't afford this. I shouldn't. You're our guest, Stellan said firmly. And you belong anywhere we invite you. Trust me. The maitre recognized them immediately. Mr. Alderson, your table is ready, and led us to a private corner where we'd have some semblance of privacy despite the elegant surroundings. Finn was wide-eyed but surprisingly well-behaved as a waiter presented him with a children's menu in a leather folder. What would you like, young sir? The waiter asked kindly. Finn studied the menu seriously, sounding out the words he could read. May I please have the chicken fingers and fries? And chocolate milk if you have it? Excellent choice, the waiter said without a hint of condescension. I'll have the chef prepare those specially for you. After he left, I leaned toward the brothers. You really didn't have to bring us somewhere so fancy. McDonald's would have been fine. This is where we wanted to bring you, Matthias said. Finn is part of this, part of you. He belongs here just as much as anyone else. But the prices are irrelevant, Stellan interrupted. Please, Jasper, let us do this. Let us show you that we're serious. So, I tried to relax, tried to ignore the fact that my coffee shop salary probably wouldn't cover even one of these appetizers. As we waited for food, the brothers engaged Finn with genuine interest, asking questions that showed they actually cared about the answers. What's your favorite subject in school? Reese asked. Art, Finn said immediately. We get to paint and draw and make things. Mother says art is how we show people what's in our hearts when words aren't enough. Your mother is very wise, Reese said, glancing at me. Does he teach you to paint? Mother teaches me everything. How to mix colors, how to see shapes in things, how to make pictures tell stories. Finn was bouncing in his seat with enthusiasm. When I grow up, I'm going to be an artist just like him. You mentioned your mother was in an art program, Stellan said to me. What happened? The question was gentle, but it still made my chest tight. I got pregnant in my sophomore year at NYU, had to drop out. My family wasn't supportive of the situation. They abandoned you, Matthias said flatly. It wasn't a question. They said I'd brought shame on our pack, that I'd ruined my life and embarrassed them. They cut me off completely, financially, emotionally, everything. I took a sip of water to steady myself. I had Finn, and I had nothing else. Had to figure out how to survive. And you did, Stellan observed. You worked, took care of your son, kept going when most people would have given up. I didn't have a choice. Finn needed me. You had choices, Matthias corrected. You could have given him up for adoption, could have asked the father for support, could have done a lot of things. But you chose to keep him and raise him alone. That takes strength most people don't have. The validation in his voice made my throat tight. The food arrived, an elaborate tasting menu for the adults, perfect chicken fingers for Finn, and as we ate, the conversation shifted to lighter topics. Finn's favorite animals, elephants and dolphins, because they're smart. His best friend at preschool, a little girl named Emma who shared her goldfish crackers. His dreams for the future, artist by day, astronaut by night, because why choose? But the brothers also asked about me. Not just surface questions, but real ones. What would you paint if you could paint anything? Reese asked. I thought about it, surprised by the question. Omega stories, I said finally. Portraits that show us as individuals, not just designations. Art that forces people to see the person before the biology. That's powerful, Reese said. Have you done any work like that? Not in years. Not since I had to sell all my supplies to pay rent. The admission hurt more than I expected. What if you could do it again? Stellan asked. If resources weren't an issue. Resources are always an issue when you're broke, I said, trying to keep my tone light. Humor us, Matthias insisted. If money wasn't a factor, what would you do? I let myself imagine it. Really imagine it. I'd go back to school, finish my degree. I'd create a series exploring Omega identity. Maybe teach so other people could find their voices through art. Maybe open a small gallery focused on marginalized artists. Why can't you do that? Stellan asked. Because school costs money I don't have. Because I need to work to support Finn. Because dreams are luxuries I gave up the day I became a single parent. What if you didn't have to give them up? Reese asked gently. What if you had support? I can't take charity. It's not charity if it's family, Stellan said. We just met today. We're not family. Not yet, Matthias agreed. But we could be. Over dessert chocolate cake for Finn, something elaborate involving passion fruit for the rest of us, Stellan pulled out an envelope from his jacket. We'd like to present you with a proposal, he said. Take your time reading it. Think about it. Ask questions. We're not expecting an answer tonight. I opened the envelope with shaking hands. Inside was a contract professionally drafted, legally thorough. The terms made my head spin. They'd cover all my expenses. Finn's education, preschool through college, my tuition if I wanted to return to school, housing in their home, a monthly stipend for personal expenses, full medical coverage, everything. In exchange, I'd move into their residence, present as their partner publicly when needed, and give them 6 months to prove themselves worthy of completing the mate bond. After 6 months, I could choose to stay permanently or leave with substantial savings and their commitment to maintaining a relationship with Finn if he wanted it. This is too much, I whispered, reading through the clauses that all seemed designed to protect me, not them. This is what we're offering, Stellan said,